Welcome back to the LaserDisco Movie Podcast, Episode 6, The Open House. I am the real Shampoo, and joined with me, as always, is my spectacular, stunning co-host, Duff McShark himself. What is going on, Duff?
Not a whole lot. I'm doing okay. Doing a lot better than I was doing earlier today. And there's a reason for that, mainly the subject matter of tonight.
Yeah, that's a really good forecast into this episode. So you guys may be wondering, what the fuck is going on? I've never heard of this movie before, or maybe you saw it on Netflix. But we have decided, mostly due to Duff's urging to cover this movie. It's called The Open House. It's just came out within the past few days on Netflix. We were gonna do The Goonies, so we had a pretty cool episode planned. And what would you say, Duff? It was around like 1 o'clock this afternoon. You were just like, I fucking hate this movie.
Yeah, I got very angry. That's pretty much we switched the episode plan tonight, and I got to be honest, I needed an outlet for venting, like just yelling at my wife about how much I hated it. Wasn't good enough. Texting people wasn't good enough. I need a creative outlet to get this hatred out and wash the bad taste of this movie out.
You sent me this message, and you were just like, I have never been more angry about a movie in my entire life. And I was just like, what is it? And you were like, it's The Open House. It's like, okay, what's that? You turned into Arnold Schwarzenegger over text message. Like, I couldn't even make sense of it. I was like, well, what is it? What's it about? And you were like, it's just fucking terrible. I was like, is it a comedy? Is it action? Is it drama? And you were just like, this is the fucking ending. I posted it on Netflix's Facebook page.
I've never done that before, but I have never done the angry old man thing where I like write to the company or to the anything. And I felt compelled to go and leave a nice message on the Netflix Facebook page. Yeah,
you told Netflix to get off your lawn.
Pretty much, yeah. I was very upset, and I haven't been this mad about a movie in a while. And this, I can't even remember ever, like, as soon as credits rolled on a movie, I literally yelled, "Fuck you" at the TV. Like, that's how I felt about that movie.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little incredulous when you told me that. I was like, I can't be that bad. You know, worst case scenario, it's kind of a bad movie. Like, I can't imagine getting, like, audibly upset at a movie that I saw on a streaming service, and then I watched it. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, guys, before we get into this, obviously, it's not going to be a hashtag retro review because the movie just dropped. It's a 2018 movie.
Hell no.
This is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. So,
no,
mean, if you really, really, really want to, and you're a fucking glutton for punishment, feel free to pause the episode and go watch this flick.
I feel like we're doing a public service tonight.
Yeah, but honestly, though, don't.
Yes, this is to prevent people from watching it.
No, it's a bad idea. It's a terrible movie. It's just terrible. It's, I mean, I know that the year is only about 3.5 weeks in. It's the worst movie I've seen this year, and I have a pretty strong feeling that there's not going to be anything I see this year that's worse than this.
Hell no.
Yeah, unless I go out and start watching, like, 2018 Asylum films, I don't think I'm going to see anything worse than this. And even then, Sharknado 14 is probably going to be a better movie than this.
There are entertaining elements you can take out of those movies. It's just like watching The Room. Like, everyone knows the movie is terrible, but there are fun elements to the movie. Like, you can have joy watching those movies, like, if you look at them a certain way. There's no way to watch this and take any joy out of it.
Yeah, this movie definitely tore me apart.
This is exercise in pain.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. And, you know, it's kind of funny coming off the heels of our Karate Kid movie. It's a lot like that, but in a different approach. Like, we both went into Karate Kid thinking, hey, you know, this is something that we loved as kids. It's going to be great to go and revisit it. And then we ended up tearing it apart. This is something that... now, Duff went in thinking that he'd like it.
I did, and I'm not the only one. There was a lot of people that were excited to watch this movie. I am a horror movie buff. I love thrillers, and horror is my genre. It's my favorite genre. And watching the preview for this, I was excited for it to come out this weekend. And I'm not the only one. And there, let me tell you, like it's not like my opinions are different from anyone else's that I've seen. Like, this is a movie that is being panned by everyone, and a lot of people are angry.
Yeah, and just to back this up, this movie is currently sitting at a 3.5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And that wasn't a 1.7 on Metacritic?
Yeah, it's a 1.7 out of 5 on Metacritic. So this movie is getting absolutely thrashed all across the internet. If you go to Twitter and you look up hashtag the open house, it's mostly people talking shit. Like, no one likes this movie. There's like 13 people in one corner of the world that likes this movie, and they're probably all related to the two directors. But so, yeah, I went into this movie basically trying to disprove how much Duff hated it. He gave me no reason.
You were skeptical on my anger.
And it wasn't that I didn't think that you were necessarily wrong. I just assumed that it can't possibly be that bad.
I might have been overreacting maybe a little bit.
Yeah, like, because you were excited, because you had that sort of feeling of anticipation, maybe this movie's going to be good. I don't know. So I was like, it can't be that bad. First off, this movie is, I think, 94 minutes long. It feels like it's about 7.5 days long. I felt like I hit my next birthday watching this movie, which is impressive. And nothing happens for about an hour into this movie.
No, it's painfully slow, painfully slow.
And there are some bright spots, and I suppose we can cover them when we really get deeper into it. I did need some assistance getting through this movie, though.
Oh, you better believe I needed some assistance to wash away the memory of watching this movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now, because I just watched this earlier today. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, of course, I'm referring to...
Beer!
Beer is good! Beer is good! Beer is good! It's some!
Yes, beer.
Mm-hmm. To alcohol! The cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
So, Duff, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a tasty little beverage called Lagunitas, or is it Lagunitas?
I think it's Lagunitas.
I think it's Lagunitas, but it's the Sumpin Easy Ale. It is delicious. It's not too boozy. I mean, Lagunitas makes a lot of really good IPAs and ales, and this one is no different. It's nice and crisp, and what I love is it has this really strong notes of tropical flavors at the end after you take a drink, and it's just delightful. It's delightfully refreshing.
Nice.
And you can get, you drink a 12-pack of it, you'll feel pretty damn good. But how about you, man? What are you drinking?
So I am drinking some of Iowa's finest. I'm drinking a Toppling Goliath Pseudo Sue. I've drank 4 of them today, spread out throughout the day. I needed some help to get through both the movie and
it's like you drank 3 out of those 4 during that movie, didn't you?
Well, I drank 2 during the movie, and I drank 1 during my Minnesota Vikings getting absolutely trounced by the Eagles.
Yeah, Shampoo's had a bad day, folks.
It's been a rough day. That being said, I'm in pretty good spirits, because now I get to talk shit about this fucking movie, and I'm very excited about that.
I'm chomping at the bit to get at it. I just can't wait.
You know what? Without further ado, let's do it. Let's kick right into it. Now, Duff, since this was your sort of pet project, why don't you kick us off? What exactly is The Open House?
So The Open House is a Netflix original that they put, not all of their original movies do they put much advertising into or give it much of a push. They gave this movie a fairly decent push, and so it had a lot of people excited. Plus,
that's pretty impressive when you consider the budget of the movie itself.
And you know what? That's the only thing I can give this movie even a slight pass for, because the budget, but I cannot give a pass to the studio that greenlit and gave that kind of money to that script.
So the budget itself, we've sort of teased at it, was $100,000 estimated for actually filming. And let me tell you, this movie looks outstanding for a movie that was made for $100,000. It's all the shots are crystal clear. Obviously they spent a pretty good portion of money on, filming locations and things like that. But one thing they did not spend a ton of money on were the fucking writers. Because, goddamn.
Oh, what a broken plot. What a broken everything with this movie. And just to give a quick overview, so the characters are so forgettable, I don't even remember their names.
It was Logan and Naomi.
Logan, okay. So Logan is essentially the main character of the film.
He's the son.
He's the son. And early on in the film, his dad dies in a horrific accident, and they cannot afford to keep the house they're in. The mother's sister offers to put them up in their vacation home. So they can't even afford their rent, but the sister's like buku rich.
Yeah, the sister's like, oh yeah, we own a house in the mountains that just happens to be like a 9-bedroom mansion.
Right, so they put them up there until she gets back on her feet.
Which, that in itself, like, how fucking weird is that? Like, if you're so rich that you have a mountain house, why couldn't you just be like, hey, we'll pay for you, like, we'll give you, like, $2,000 to pay for your rent for, like, 4 months in a couple-bedroom apartment? Like, how is just be like, oh, just pull your kid out of school and go live in the mountains? A more reasonable response than loaning a few bucks.
It's true.
Weird.
It's true, but they're trying to sell
setup.
that mountain house.
Right.
So maybe maybe something happened in their family, and then they have to get rid of the mountain house. Which I also think is odd. Is like, go stay in the mountain house until you get back on your feet, unless we sell it, and then you're fucked.
We're trying to sell it, so you got to be out on Sundays between 11 and 5.
And if we do sell it, I don't know what to tell you.
Like, sorry.
So they go and pack up and move. The son is not happy about it.
No, because he's going to be an Olympian someday.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's pretty fast. Yeah, they pack up and move to this house in this remote mountain village where probably, I bet, only half of the houses in the town are occupied because it's probably mostly vacation homes.
Yeah, it seems to be set in, like, Northern California. That's what I gathered from it, sort of in, like, that Big Bear area. If you're familiar with California, you know where I'm talking about. If you're not, it's sort of in the mountains of Northern California. It's very affluent. A lot of, like, celebrities and rich people have vacation homes. Not a lot of people just live there.
Right, so, yeah, they get there, and that's where everything starts going down.
Yeah.
That's where the movie
things
really
happen.
takes off, quote, unquote, because this movie never really takes off. And I don't know, this movie
is the Apollo 1 of movies. It just lit on fire on the launch pad.
This movie is like sitting down in a nice easy chair and letting someone punch you in the mouth repeatedly for like 65 minutes until finally something starts to happen.
I thought you were going to be like, you sit down in an easy chair and you go to recline it and it just doesn't recline. But you're like, nope. Mouth punches.
Nope, mouth punches. For a good 65 minutes until things start to pick up and you're like, okay, well, this took forever, but maybe it's going to get interesting. And then by the end, that's akin to somebody ball punching you for an hour straight.
It's like listening to, like, you're in the club and you just drop some MDMA and you got glow sticks all around you and the DJ's up and you're just like, oh man, just wait until that beat drops. And then the beat never drops.
It never drops. Nope.
Never ever.
It never drops. This movie is so slow. And that's, I think, and here's the big thing, too, is that you can boil down this entire movie's plot to one line of dialogue in the movie.
Mom, have you ever thought about how, like, weird open houses are?
What?
I mean, you give your keys to someone you hardly know. They stand in one room and welcome in a bunch of complete strangers. And those people just roam around the house. And the realtor doesn't check the house when it's done, right? They just turn the lights off and go.
Okay, well, now I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
Maybe you shouldn't sleep tonight.
There's so many, like, the people who wrote this movie, like, I know we had a conversation earlier, and you had basically said, it seems like that the whole movie was, like, what Logan says there, this is a thought they probably had while drinking or getting high or something, and they wrote a movie about it.
Yeah, so that's,
and it makes sense.
That's a great segue into let's throw out some factoids about this movie. So I already told you that it costs about $100,000 to make, which that in itself very impressive. You make a feature-length movie for $100,000. Props to you. Great job. This movie looks good for being shot for $100,000. That being said, it's 2018. I could take my fucking iPhone 7 and go make a movie that looks great with my iPhone 7. So this movie was written and directed by Matt Angel and Suzanne Coote. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll give you a moment to look them up. And we're done. They've never done anything. I have no idea who they are. They have some credits to their name, and I promise you, you've never heard of them. I guess his most notable role is cop number 1 in this very movie. He's
one of those cops?
He's the cop with the terrible haircut.
The young cop. Oh, okay.
Actually, and Suzanne Coote herself was in it as a waitress. So they were both in the movie as cameos. That's fine. None of that stuff necessarily means that it's gonna be a bad movie.
No, but I can't give this movie a pass because if people aren't familiar with the Duplass brothers, they make a lot of really good movies with lower budgets than this one. And even horror, like especially horror movies, Creep 1 and Creep 2 are both excellent movies made by the Duplass brothers for much less money than this one.
Yeah, you can make a movie for not that much. Hell, we did an episode on a movie that was pretty fucking cheap called Clerks.
Yeah.
And Clerks...
Cult classic.
Clerks was made for a third of the budget that this was made for. And I promise you, inflation has not went up by 60% to mean that $100,000 in 2018 was the same as $30,000 in 1994.
Right. Money is subjective. I mean, you can make a bad movie for $100,000, or as we talked before, $8 million with The Karate Kid.
It's true.
So,
or just
$1
million with the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Why was that $1 million?
Or in the case of the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean movie, $300 million. Quick segue. I watched that movie the other day, and it's awful. Please don't watch it. Please don't watch it. Please don't watch it.
I gave up on those movies a long time ago.
So, continuing on with our little factoids, we got a little sidetrack there. It stars Dylan Minnette, who you may know from a little movie called Don't Breathe.
Yes, and I couldn't wait to talk about this because the last time I was this disappointed in a movie was Don't Breathe, and they have this link, which is insane because I was... And the funny thing about Don't Breathe is, though, that was like a critical darling, and I hated it.
Well,
I thought it was a piece of trash.
That's kind of the irony about that being the connection, because Dylan's performance was actually one of the few things that I didn't absolutely loathe about this movie.
No, he's all right.
I thought he was, like, it was one of those examples where when you, his mom was played by an actress named Piercy Dalton, who I was not familiar with.
I've never seen her before.
I looked at her resume, and she's had quite a few roles, mostly in shorts and TV stints and things like that. But her performance was fine as well. But it was one of just a couple of things about this movie that I didn't absolutely hate, and it was an instance of you take someone with genuine talent and you just surround them with trash, and there's sort of a spotlight shined on it, and it's like a rose in the middle of a dump.
Look, there was a couple scenes in this movie that were okay, and they were very well acted, and those all involved him and his mother.
And let's be clear, those two people, who are the leads of the movie, they're the only people who appeared on camera with any talent.
Agreed.
Literally any talent. I'm sorry if you were an extra in this movie, or God forbid,
or one of the other actors,
or one of the other actors. If Sharif Atkins, if you happen to come across this episode, I'm sorry, you were terrible. Your character was terrible, and you should probably go find another
didn't have
job.
anything to work with.
No, he didn't.
So,
But man, was he bad.
yeah. Well, the movie is bad. Everything about this movie is bad. And you know what really blew my mind is I've never seen a movie overloaded with so many red herrings. Like, everything was meant to be a misdirection, but the problem is that some of these things they tried to put like a spotlight on to like, they never do anything with it though. They never do anything. They put a spotlight on these people, and they are just meant to be red herrings and plot devices. But you give them too much backstory, I guess, to an extent. Like the crazy lady.
Yeah, it's like
The
they missed
crazy lady.
They missed the point of what a red herring was as like a little teaser to try to like send you sort of in the wrong direction, and they were just like, nah, red herring's just like when you put like someone on the screen for like half of the movie and you're like, that's the bad guy, and then they're not the bad guy.
They're not the bad guy, and that's what they keep trying to do.
It's like they got confused between a red herring and a twist, and somehow managed to miss the mark on both.
Right. Oh, they completely missed the mark. There's a few things in this movie where they really try to get you to care about it, and they really try to flesh some things out, but then they also never tie them up either. So you're just left wondering, like, why did they even show me these things? Why did they go out of their way to make the crazy lady, like, seem like... The crazy lady, like, basically, she's just off her rock. She probably has some sort of dementia, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But that's their neighbor. And when you first meet her, she seems lucid and fairly normal. And then the next time you meet her, she's wandering outside of the house, and thinking that it's her house, and then she talks about her dead husband, and then she says, oh, my husband could never die, and you're just like, what the hell is going on with her, to where you're thinking, okay, well, this lady's crazy, like, she could be the one involved with this. They literally do nothing with her character from there. Like, she just wanders around being crazy the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And they do nothing with it. You don't find out a thing about her husband. None of these things that they set up do they tie up. Just like the father's death in the beginning of the movie. He's hit by a car. He goes in to buy some milk and eggs, comes out, and gets hit by a car and killed. You don't know exactly what happened. Although, here's the thing. Like, the way it looked to me, it looked like he was ran down and murdered the way they did it. Because the car drove him into a garbage can, straight, like, into the building, basically.
So let's hit some of these beats, because I think we're kind of jumping around here.
We're jumping everywhere.
Yeah, we're so angry. We have so much to say, and we're probably even making the movie more confusing than what it actually is, despite the fact that it's confusing and terrible.
Very difficult.
It's very difficult and kind of impressive.
But god damn it, we can do it.
So the movie starts out, and there's a couple of things. They're shot really nicely, although one of the things that I said going in is I felt like this movie was shot like the cinematographers or whoever the cameraman was, like, had just found out that Steadicam was a thing, like, last Thursday, and he was just like, guys, we can get this mount, and it's like on a rail, and we sit on it, and you push it, and it's like the camera's moving, but it doesn't move. It just tracks on a shot. It's so cool. Like, he had never heard of it before, because 95...
I feel like he finally watched Paranormal Activity for the first time, and it just blew his fucking mind.
It was like he watched the fucking bombing run from Star Wars A New Hope, and he was just like, holy shit. Seriously. Because, like... At least 90% of the shots in this movie were either static shots where they clearly had the camera on a tripod, or they had a fucking rail where they either panned it front to back or left to right. Like, that was it. That was how the entire movie was shot. So it opens up. Your main character is running because apparently he's going to be a fucking Olympian someday. He clearly just like ran a mile. His dad times him and he's like, oh man, 5:06, you're going to be an Olympian someday. By the way, not even remotely close to being an Olympian. Like, I was not an Olympian. I ran a 5:50 mile when I was in high school, and I have asthma. It's not impressive. It's not an impressive time.
I mean, the thing is like, this is another thing that they set up in the movie that you think is going to be important that's literally not touched on or used in any way, shape, or
yet
form.
somehow they do use it a lot. Like a lot. It's reinforced at least 5 different times.
They reinforce it, but it never comes into play in the movie.
Yeah, no, it's not important, but they reinforce it like 5 different times, like, this kid is fast.
Yeah, he's real fast.
He's real fast. So, and then, almost immediately after that, he goes into his house, and it's just like, he's blind, he's taking out his contacts. Look at this.
That's another thing that comes into play a lot.
Look at this really cool close-up shot of him taking out his contacts. We're also going to add a pointless sound effect of, like, the sound contacts make when they're getting removed from your eyeballs. It's like,
oh my God.
That's not a sound. That's not a sound that happens. And, like, the whole time, there's, like, standard horror soundtracks. Like,
the score is awful. The score of this movie is awful.
It's terrible.
Awful.
So they do a lot of, like, false atmospheric bullshit in the first half of the movie.
Yep. They keep... It's just like the people who made this, they had attention deficit. Like, they would start something, and then they'd be like, oh, wait, I got a better idea. And then they'd go somewhere else and start something else. And none of it is ever, like, comes to a close, really. Nothing is ever tied up in any way, shape, or form. Nothing is resolved. Like, early in the movie, they set up this kid. If there's 2 things we know about Logan, he's really fast, and he's really fucking blind.
He's fast and blind.
That kid can run like the wind, but he can't see shit.
He's Ray Charles in a race car.
So yeah, they set these things up, and they keep doing this with different characters in the movie, as we'll touch on. But yeah, so yeah, like we said before, the dad dies in an accident, and they have to move, and the accident is horribly stupid as well.
Logan goes for a run. They're making breakfast. Logan's
For
dad,
dinner.
yeah,
Breakfast for dinner.
breakfast for dinner, and then Logan's dad breaks some eggs, so they have to go get more eggs, which they go and do at a gas station. They go buy more eggs. Logan's dad is like walking back to the car, gets hit by another car, and Duff mentioned this. It looks like it's completely on purpose.
Yeah,
like this,
because it's not like if you step out into the middle of the road and get hit by oncoming traffic. It looks like he was driven into the building.
Yeah.
Like into the trash can and smushed.
Right next to the building, right next to a dumpster, and there's this car going through the parking lot at like
They hit him
70
head
miles an
on
hour.
into the dumpster.
And Logan sees it, and he's like, no!
That's pretty much the sound he makes, yes.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. Flash forward to the funeral, the aforementioned mom and sister scene, move to the mountains. They move to the mountains, encounter crazy dementia lady at a gas station.
Crazy dementia lady.
Who, at this point, is just creepy and weird, and is just like, hey, you must be Logan. And you must be Naomi. And they're like really playing up like, oh, she's creepy, and this is weird, and why does she know their names?
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to touch on this real quick, because what I took away from the opening part of the movie, because, I mean, essentially, the dad dropping the egg leads to his death. That's essentially what happens. So what I took away from the movie was the lesson of, don't eat breakfast for dinner, or you will die, because apparently it's an abomination. That is an abomination. You don't do that.
How fucking
apparently.
dare you?
I love breakfast for dinner, and now I'm going to be fearing for my life every time I eat a fucking pancake at 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Brenner equals death, Duff. Brenner equals death.
So anyways, like, getting past that little part and getting back to what we were just talking about, but yeah, the crazy lady. I think we forgot to mention that when they get to the house, she calls the house immediately as they're walking into the house for the first time.
Which for some reason, they have like an old bell phone. Just like chilling on the table. And it's not like it's okay, they have a landline and they have, a regular landline phone.
Was that a dial phone?
Yeah.
Was that a dial phone?
It was a dial phone, and it was even an old, like, it's not even like it was a 70s dial phone. That was like a 1960s, 1950s.
Like 60s, 50s, yeah.
Like, it was one of those black ones with kind of the irregularly shaped horn, and like, like I grew up, and you grew up in an era where we had landlines that were the old bell phones, and this was still a good 25 years older than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked really, really old.
And it was on their table. And yeah, like, she wasn't weirded out about it. She didn't just like let it go because, it wasn't her house or anything like that. Just picks it up, she answers it. It's the crazy old lady.
Yeah, I never understood the. I'm sorry. Well, I gotta mention this. The phone, like we just talked about the phone. What's blowing my mind here is this is a mansion, basically. I mean, this is a gigantic house. These people are very rich.
It's
and
like
the interior,
at least
they
a
have
5-bedroom house. At
yeah, I
least.
mean, it is gigantic and it's
even,
beautiful.
They even comment on, holy shit, how big is this house? Why have we never been here before?
Yeah, and so you walk in and they have a phone from the 1950s, and the furniture looks like 1970s furniture that was bought at Goodwill, like the couches and stuff.
I feel like it's an instance of. It's one of those
like,
things.
are they
where,
just trying to be kitsch?
Well,
you know,
the budget was $100,000. I guarantee you, they actually went and found like a
Goodwill.
75-year-old couple that lived in Big Bear, and they were like, "Hey, can we use your house to shoot a movie for like a week and a half?" And they were just like, "Yeah, okay, just don't break anything.
Don't move my old phone.
Don't you fucking touch that phone."
They signed the contract only if my phone is featured in the movie. Will I do this?
It would be harder to have an antique bell phone than it would be to have a fucking cordless phone in your house. You would have to actively be like, no, I want a 1963 black bell phone.
I think that we actually solved the mystery that it probably was stipulated by the old people's house contract. Be like, I want my... Because, you know, you watch TV shows where, like, the product placement, like, why are they always drinking out of Pepsi cups or something like that? That's what this movie is for. They were like, no, I really want this old bell phone featured in the movie.
Seriously.
I want just my phone better make the movie, goddamn.
That phone. That goddamn phone. It's not like it's like in a one-off scene. It's in that movie in 3 really important scenes in the movie. So let's skip ahead a little bit.
Sure.
Because we kind of have to, because nothing happens for a solid 40 minutes after they get to the
Tiny little
mansion.
things would happen. Just these tiny, tiny little things. Nothing, though, even happens at all until they leave for the open house. And the movie is already a good 30-some minutes into an hour-and-a-half long movie by that point.
They get to the mountain house within 15 minutes of the movie starting. Nothing happens of significance for 35 minutes after that.
And then the shot of the door opening, like a random door will open.
Yeah,
and then
like a door
the
open,
water
like-
heater goes out.
Yeah, the water heater goes out while the mom is taking a shower, and that's it.
This happens several times in the movie.
Yeah.
Which you find out was obviously being done by the bad guy, which I think is just a really funny, like, how weak of a fucking villain is this guy? Like, he doesn't do anything till the very end of the movie, and, like, the way he scares and fucks with the family is like, ah ha ha, their showers are gonna be cold for a while. Yes. That's Butter's alter ego, like that kind of evil. Like
Professor Chaos.
Like, that is Professor Chaos style evil.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and while all of this is going on, Logan and Naomi go out shopping at one point, and they encounter this character named Chris.
Chris, the thinnest character in movie history.
Chris, by all means, is just like a friendly guy who that seems to be his motivation. You know, maybe he is just legitimately nice and he's a concerned neighbor, but he seems to be flirting with her, and that seems to be his sole existence as a character, is local trying to sleep with out-of-town mom.
And he talks a little bit about how kooky this town is and the people in this town.
It could be
They're a
because
little
he's
bit
the only
off.
black character in the entire movie.
Right, well, I'm sure that life is not easy for him in that town.
No.
Small town, rich, predominantly white. I'm sure that people give him a lot of crooked eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
That's the sort of existence that we're painting for this guy. Except we have to paint that and assume that because the movie sure as fuck didn't show us any of that about
No, it
who
doesn't
this
show
guy
us
is.
anything.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't tell us anything. Like fuck, he's in the movie twice before we even find out what his fucking name is. So like all of this is going on. Weird shit happens. At one point, finally later in the last 40 minutes of the film,
They call the cops.
they call the cops because, not because something weird happens, because they get a voicemail from Naomi's sister saying, my realtor called me and said someone broke into the house. Not the realtor called the police who called me, not my realtor called me and told me that she called the police, just my realtor said someone broke into the house. They get back to the house, cops aren't there, no sign of being broken into. They walk in the front door, there's candles lit on the table with fucking Silent Night playing on the house stereo, and they have to call the cops, who promptly dismiss it as, well, kids probably did it.
Yeah. Oh, I love how much he really tries to explain, too, why it was probably kids. And Logan is the voice of reason, where it's like, that is insane. Like, these are literally the worst cops ever. And it makes no sense, too, because I live in a small town where there's nothing for the cops to do. And if something like a call came in like that, they'd be all over it and super excited.
Man,
deal with that.
I live in a city of 125,000 people, and I literally had someone try to break into my house about a month and a half ago and called they didn't even get in my house. I just saw them try to get in my house. Called the cops. They came and met me, talked to me for 10 minutes, and then patrolled my block for an hour. Like,
yep.
What is going on with these cops where they're just like, yeah, no, man, kids came in, and they probably thought it would be funny to light some candles on your kitchen table, make you dinner, and play Silent Night.
Why did the cops just suddenly become from the Bronx?
I don't know. I feel like...
You set this movie up in California, and then all of a sudden they're talking like this. Like, what just happened?
I have no explanation for it. Like, those cops had no
like all
real
the voices in my head are from Brooklyn.
Just cops.
Just cops.
Every cop's from Brooklyn.
I like to think of like the crooked racist Boston cop.
I can't do a Boston accent.
Cop
you know
I
that.
picture in my head. Oh, I'm just saying that that's the cop voice I picture in my head.
Maybe I would do that if I could do a Boston accent, but I can do a really like abrupt Brooklyn accent. I don't know. But so the cops get there and they're just
I'm walking over here.
Hey, yeah. The cops get to the fucking house and there is literally a candlelit dinner on their fucking table in Silent Night. Silent Night.
Silent Night is playing, and the cops are just like, yeah, kids.
Yeah, no, kids did it. Yeah, they were probably
Silent Night is a really popular song.
They were
with
probably
children.
just trying to have a goof, guys. Come on,
just having a good time.
Why you gotta bust those kids' balls? What's going on? And then they're just like, hey, you know what? We could just come back tomorrow if that'd make you feel any better. Long story
tomorrow.
And this is
we'll come back tomorrow after you've been murdered. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? You know why the cops didn't pay any attention? They failed to ask one question. They could have been like, "Well, did you have breakfast for dinner?" And if they would have said yes, then they'd be like, "You're in deep danger.
Yeah,
you are in danger.
It's like the #1 rule.
You don't do it.
Yeah, no,
you don't do it.
You don't do it.
Not in this movie,
unless it's bacon pancakes.
Oh well, those are amazing.
Bacon pancakes, making bacon pancakes. Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake. Bacon pancakes, that's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancake.
But anyway, Chris is called, which, by the way, the fact that Logan calls him also makes no sense.
That's the best part. Like,
Logan hated him.
Chris is called. Naomi opens the door and she's like, "What the fuck?" And Logan comes down and he's just like, "Nah, Mom, it's okay. I called him." Who Logan, up to this point, has treated him with nothing but suspicion and disdain.
Mm-hmm.
So Logan comes downstairs and he's just like, "No, Mom, it's okay. I called him."
And then they go and patrol the outside of the house where nothing has actually happened.
Yeah. And then apparently Chris is going to stay the night.
Yes, that also is strange as well. Because he doesn't know who's doing any of this.
Or that anything's even going on. This is the first time he's heard of it. And I promise you, if a random strange woman that I had met in a store where I worked was like, "Hey, will you come over? I think I'm gonna get murdered," I'd be like, "No,
Not to mention you're called by the kid who has shown you nothing but animosity so far. Honestly, Chris is stupid. He is an idiotic character.
Yeah, no, Chris, this is all
Complete moron.
There's no reason to think that Chris would show up, should show up, would stay if invited, other than him being like a nefarious person, which is what the movie tries to set up.
Yes, and that's the big thing is right after they are walking, patrolling outside the house, and this is where Logan makes his amends. He's like, you know what, I'm sorry, I was kind of a dick to you, you're a pretty good guy, blah blah blah. And so he goes upstairs to go to bed, and finally, after about an hour and 10 minutes of an hour and a half long movie, something finally starts happening.
Yeah, there's a loud noise. Logan wakes up, he goes outside, there's lights.
He comes downstairs and Chris isn't on the couch anymore.
He's not there anymore.
And the door to the front door is open, and there are car headlights beaming into the house.
So he goes outside, and he's just like, what the fuck? Also, like, first of all, any of this shit happens in real life, call the fucking cops. Don't go explore first. Call the cops, you idiot. That's why 911 exists. He goes outside, sees the car headlights. He's still calling, Chris, are you there? Goes up to the car, and guess who's sitting behind the driver's seat?
Chris.
Fucking Chris.
With his throat slit.
Kind of.
Well, and I want to touch on this because this is the point where I'm like, I see Chris sitting in the driver's seat with his slit throat.
Let's preface this real quick. This is your equivalent of getting mad about the cinematography. Like, I get mad about cinematography, you get mad about makeup.
I get very mad about practical effects because I am a big, especially 80s horror movie nerd. So I get very upset. So, and I watch a lot of horror movies. So you see this, so he's supposed to have a slit throat. There is no slit whatsoever. It looks like someone took a paintbrush and painted a bloody line across his neck, and that's it. And so when I see this,
pretty weak.
It was really bad. And so when I saw this, I instantly go, okay, there are two people doing this. He's one of them.
You thought it was going a Scream direction where there were two killers.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Billy Loomis, actually, like, immediately. But either way, it doesn't matter. I'm immediately like, okay, he's in on this. He is, and it totally makes sense, because who would just go and in their right mind stay the night at that place with people they don't know like that? So, okay, he's in on this, and maybe Crazy Lady. Maybe Crazy Lady's the other person who's in on this, because she's been wandering around in the yard late at night and doing all sorts of kooky shit the whole movie. Okay, here we go. Now things are coming together. They're starting to make sense. Spoiler alert, not at all, because we spoiled the whole movie. Chris isn't involved at all. He's actually fucking dead.
Actually dead, and they spent $9 on a Walmart makeup bag to do his special effect.
Yeah, it was ketchup, just like my mom puts in the spaghetti. Like, seriously though, like, it's so bad.
It really is.
And I got very angry about that once the movie. And by the way, they don't show Chris's face again the entire rest of the movie.
No.
You don't see it, nothing. So he goes back in the house. And
no. He doesn't go back in the house.
Oh wait, no, he doesn't. He gets knocked out.
He gets his head smashed in on Chris's car.
Mm-hmm. And then all you see is the killer's boots. And you see him walk over and pick up a bucket of water.
A big bucket of water.
A big bucket of water, and pour it all over Logan.
You don't even really think it's water. You think it's something worse. Like, I don't know. I thought it was like
gasoline.
Gas. Yeah, I thought it was gas. He's like, oh shit, he's going to fucking immolate him. Like, that's fucked. But no, it's just fucking water. And then what I thought was the dumbest scene of the movie in a movie made almost entirely out of dumb scenes was the killer goes upstairs to the mom's bedroom, lays down in her bed, and slowly intertwines his fingers across his chest while she's sleeping. She wakes up, I don't know, 12 seconds later, goes pee, lays back down in bed, and starts looking at pictures. And it's not until she
turns the light on.
It's not. She turns the light on and is looking at pictures.
And then she realizes somebody has taken weird pictures with her camera.
Yeah, weird pictures of her camera of like her and her son sleeping. And it's not until that moment that she looks over and is like, "Oh my God, there's someone laying in bed next to me." Like, who the fuck doesn't wake up when someone lays in their bed?
Right. I think she thought it might have been Logan laying in bed next to her.
She didn't wake up or say anything or acknowledge it or anything on the same night that a random stranger who she had never had more than a 30-second conversation with was sleeping in her house.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And plus, people had been in her house, too.
And
before he even came over.
She got out of bed, went to the bathroom, and laid back in the same bed. Didn't notice someone laying there. I tell you what, people, I'm blind. I'm super fucking blind, and I promise you if there's someone in my fucking bed and I don't have my glasses on, I'm gonna know.
But are you as blind as Logan?
Way worse.
Because they set him up to be pretty blind.
Way more blind than Logan.
Yeah, but you know what? You're not fast.
No, I'm not.
Whatever.
Hey, that hurts deep.
Yeah, well, you know, it's those stubby little hobbit legs. I don't know.
Fuck! Come on, man. Let's hate on the movie, not on my body.
But anyway, yeah, you make a great point. Like, it really... I actually hadn't even really thought of that. I just assumed, like, she thought it was Logan. But even then,
guys,
given all the circumstances, she should have turned over and looked at least once.
Guys, I watch a lot of movies. Like, probably an irresponsible amount of movies. And I know a thing or two about suspension of disbelief, and I have no problem suspending my disbelief.
Yeah, we're both Star Wars fans. We can definitely suspend our disbelief.
But it only works to a fucking point.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
There's something called weight displacement that when someone lays on a spring mattress, there's some shifting of motion. And it'd be fine if it happened while she was sleeping and she stayed asleep and, like, I don't know, maybe woke up and he was next to her, or I don't know. There are ways to do that scene of him being in bed next to her, but having her wake up, get out of bed, get back into bed, and then look at pictures and never once notice anything to the right 8 inches of her body is just...
I agree.
Fucking stupid. After she notices all these pictures, she finally wakes up, and then the killer's just like, I'm gonna beat your fucking face in now.
Well, he ties her up, and starts beating her up.
Yeah, and then breaks all of her fingers.
That was actually probably the hardest scene to watch in the whole movie.
I turned away.
Snapping her fingers one by one.
I turned away. That scene fucking grossed me out. I couldn't watch it. That was gross. It was awful. I did not like that scene from a
horror standpoint.
standpoint.
That's the best thing they did in the movie, because the actual bone-breaking sound sounded good. The effect didn't look too bad. It looked like he was breaking her fingers. Well, the actual broken fingers of the hand, when it showed it looked good.
It was one of maybe 5 scenes in the entire movie that were done.
It's a good choice that they made.
It was done about as well as it could have been done. Props to them. Good job.
And then after that, like, we reached my favorite point of the movie that my wife and I dubbed the never melting frost.
Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. So Logan gets that giant bucket of water dumped on him, and I guess
dumped all over him, and he wakes up.
And by the way, no
rhyme or reason why the guy did that, by the way.
And there has been no clues at any point in the movie of what season it is. If it's winter, if it's fall, if it's summer. No instances whatsoever, and I get it. It's in California. Up until this scene when they're just like, oh no, it's winter. There's snow on the ground.
Now.
It's cold.
It's cold. You know why? Because that's what works with what we wrote.
Fuck yeah. So he has like frost on him and shit from this water getting dumped on him.
I want to talk about real quick the water itself, because he obviously, when he was planning this whole big thing out, put a bucket of water out there. He knew that after he knocked this kid out, he was just gonna pour water all over him.
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna kill Chris.
I'm gonna
kill Chris, Logan's gonna come out, I'm gonna smash his head in the window, and then I'm gonna pour water on him while he's unconscious.
What a Professor Chaos thing to do.
That's my fucking plan. And then I'm gonna walk away, and I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna lay in bed next to his mom, and then she's gonna wake up after several minutes of looking at these pictures, and then I'm gonna beat her up and break her fingers. And then leave a knife by her.
I feel like Logan got off very light.
Yeah.
So yeah, he leaves. Logan wakes up, comes in the house. And
Logan
at this
wakes
point,
up covered in frost.
And there's a certain amount of frost in his eyebrows in particular.
His eyebrows and his hair.
And his hair, but the eyebrows are the ones that get me the most because that frost should have been melted almost immediately.
Fucking white. The entire time he's trying to rescue his
for the rest of the entire movie. That frost is there.
It never goes away.
It never goes. He is in, like, when he comes in, and we'll talk about what happens from there, but he's in the house after he walks in for at least a good 10 minutes or so, and that frost in his hair and his eyebrows never melts away.
Guys, if you've listened to this show before, you know we're from Iowa. There was a day a few weeks ago where it was negative 17 degrees out. I went outside about 15 minutes after taking a shower, and my hair did freeze. That is something that really does happen.
It does.
The thing is, though, it doesn't fucking turn white. It stays the same color of your hair, and it also dethaws as soon as you're not in the negative weather.
So him and oh my god, Logan and his frost walk back in the house, and
maybe he's an X-Man.
He's oh my god, he's actually Bobby Drake. Yeah, so he goes in, and the killer left the knife, right? He left the knife there.
Yeah, clearly on purpose.
How convenient.
He wants them to get away.
He wants them to kind of get away.
Kind of.
So yeah, he cuts his mom loose, and at this point, I'm paying attention because finally something's happening, but at the same time...
The stupidest thing in the entire movie happens here, though, other than the frost. The frost is the worst thing of the movie. Simple physics. Like, a 4-second Google would have been like, does frost melt with body heat? Yeah, it does. That
it does.
Solved.
That should be common sense,
solved. Though. So, he cuts his mom loose, immediately leaves... And it's just like, Mom, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to call the police. Finds not one, but 2 cell phones. Both cell phones are like, SIM card, remove. Now, you only would have had to use a cell phone sometime after the late 90s to know this, but every cell phone, even if you take the SIM card out, has an emergency call function on it. So, movie directors everywhere, stop using no signal and no SIM card as an excuse. You can still fucking call 911. That's how cell phones work. Stop
Logan apparently did not know this, though.
Well, it says it right on the phone. So he throws his phones down, he goes and rescues his mom, and blah, blah, blah. She gets kidnapped, and she ends up down in the basement. And he's all down there with his frost eyebrows and his fucking shaky hands and his outstretched arm.
Oh yeah, I love how he was walking through the house shaking and shivering the whole time.
Yeah, fucking terrified. Never puts on a coat, never anything. Just fucking cold. Like it's 7 degrees outside or some shit. So he's in the basement with this fucking outstretched shitty like 3-inch knife.
Yeah.
And he ends up stabbing his mom right in the belly.
Right in the stomach.
Right in the belly.
And she dies within about 30 seconds.
Yeah, like almost immediately. And she's just like, run.
Yeah. Which, by the way, that wound would not have killed anybody.
No, I mean, it would have killed her after like maybe...
It would not have killed her in 30 seconds.
A day?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the kind of knife wound that, like, if you get to the hospital, you're going to survive.
Yeah, you're going to have to get some emergency surgery, probably have some intestines removed, whatever. But you're not going to
survive.
So he runs away, and the killer, like, kind of chases him, like Jason Voorhees style, I guess, where he's just like, fuck it, I'll get you eventually.
Yeah, and let's talk just for a second about, at this point, it's obvious that this is where this guy's been the whole time. He's been living for the last week in their basement. And their basement isn't all that big. And they go down in that basement several times. There's really nowhere to hide.
You could explore the entire basement in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah. I feel like he was just standing there with a lampshade over his head and nobody was smart enough to notice.
That's how it feels. Logan runs out of the house.
He runs out.
He goes in the woods. He never grabs a coat or anything, so he's still fucking cold, and he hides.
And this is where you think the fact that he's so damn fast is going... Well, actually, we didn't touch on something. The killer does get him down for a second, grabs him, puts him down, and takes his contact lenses out.
Yeah, he...
Which is the point where I was watching
He tackles him, puts him in, like, full mount, like, restrains him, like, gets both of his arms, and then carefully, very carefully... Like, when he first did it, I was like, oh, fuck, he's gonna gouge his eyes out. Whoa, my God. Wait, what?
He takes out, and these are, normal soft contacts. He does it gently, like, enough to get those contacts
Seriously,
out.
if you have contacts, you know what you have to do. That's what he did, but, like, on another person.
And this is, like, I watched this movie with my wife, and my wife has potty mouth, especially... when she thinks something is ridiculous. And when he took those contacts out, my wife literally, she just yelled at the TV, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, she was angry at this point, and I was getting angry as well. But
I know his wife, and I believe it.
Still crossing my fingers that it was going to tie up okay.
That scene, I laughed real hard.
It is so, like... It's hard to say this is where this movie jumped the shark, because I feel like it jumped the shark as soon as, like, the opening credits rolled, because it ended up being that bad. But
this movie was the shark, Chris.
This movie is the shark.
This movie was the shark, Duff. It was the shark.
It gives us sharks a bad name. No, but seriously, so he takes his contacts out and then releases him. Like, run, boy, run, kind of a deal.
And
he does.
Kind
this
of
is
like
where you
the killer's
think that's
MO.
gonna happen.
And you're just like, oh, I get, because he knows them, and he's, like, fucking with them. Like,
he knew he had contacts.
The entire movie, it's, like, there's even a line where it's just like, oh, he's fucking with them, like, sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
You think that it's a psychological torture thing because he knows who they are.
Yep, and this is where I think, like, the kid's speed is going to come into play. He's going to run and possibly get help and survive this or something like that. Nope. He runs for a little bit and hides under, like, a little embankment. And then, guess who wanders into the scene? The crazy lady.
Miss Alzheimer's.
Just, and this is the last time you see her in the movie. She just walks around talking to herself all crazy.
Middle of the night.
And leaves.
Looks at the sky and she's like, oh, pretty.
And then he, like, gets up and runs off. And
he does. Does he even actually run off? Oh, no, yeah, he does.
Yeah, he gets up and he leaves, and then you don't see him again until it's daybreak.
Yeah, he gets up and runs off, and he finds himself by a stream. He, like, drinks out of the stream.
And it's daytime now. Like, so it's obviously hours later.
And
if it was cold enough
for his
frost his eyebrows,
yeah.
and he's running out there in wet clothes, he should be dead already.
Yeah, so, again, we're from Iowa, and it's cold enough for him to apparently survive the night in just a t-shirt that had been previously wet. I was real mad about those scenes. Real mad.
And so, yeah, he comes to this, so now it's daytime, so he comes to a stream, and he gets down and lays down and is trying to get a drink of water. Now, this is the point where I think, okay, the killer's going to show up, and while he's trying to get a drink out of the stream, he's going to shove his head down into the stream to try to drown him. Nope. Because every single choice the directors made in this movie was the wrong choice. So trusting them to even do that was just apparently too much.
Yeah.
So he rolls back over and he's catching his breath, and then boots appear. Boots appear by his head.
Who
the
could
fact
it
that he
be?
didn't hear a guy. Yeah. And how, like, that is a forest and there's branches all over.
Branches
everywhere.
And
Leaves. And yet he doesn't hear him coming at all.
And then he begs for his life, and then
begs for his life.
The killer
grabs his shirt,
and then the camera pans
not his
away,
neck, his shirt,
and then it pans back, and he's dead.
And there are no hand marks around his neck. There's no stab wounds. There's no nothing. It looks like he just fell asleep.
Yep.
But he's dead. And this is, I mean, the movie's over, and then it all of a sudden it cuts to a shot of somebody driving.
Hang on.
Huh.
Before we actually get to the final reveal, who do you think the killer was? Who could it possibly be?
Well, it wasn't Chris.
It wasn't
And
Chris.
it obviously wasn't the crazy
It
lady.
certainly wasn't the crazy lady. It wasn't the
So
dad,
who was
because the
it?
dad's dead.
The dad's dead. Nope, it was crazy random guy.
It was no one. The killer was fucking no one.
Yep. This is the big reveal, folks. This is the big reveal. The last scene, the last shot of the movie. Old shitty pickup truck driving down the road. Ominous music playing. Obviously, that's who did it.
Towards
And
another open
house. This is a guy who just randomly goes to open houses and murders people. And by the way, it gives us, the audience, the big middle finger when he takes the contacts out of Logan's eyes, because it finally shows you, it finally pans up to the guy's face and body and everything, but it's from Logan's perspective, so it's so blurry,
completely
you can't
blurry.
make
Yeah,
anything
exactly.
out.
So it's like reinforcing, like, oh, you know who this is, and if you could just see it, you'd be like, oh shit.
Nope.
No, it's no one. You don't know who it is. You never find out who it is. It's a random person. Which, if other aspects of the movie had been done right, you'd be like, oh shit, no, that's well done. Like, that's cool. Except the movie's fucking trash.
No, but it sets you up for every ending possible but that one. That is the one ending that would make the least amount of sense with everything else they set up in this movie.
And again,
with the direction they put in
it's
place.
possible to set that up in that way to even where, like, that would be the one thing you didn't guess where it would be effective. Like, it's possible to have that set up where you sort of hint
It's
towards
possible.
it being someone that you
But
know,
they
and then
don't
end up having
like,
it
set it
not-
up correctly.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you could set it up to where it hints towards it's going to be someone that you know, and then end up having it not be anyone and do that effectively.
Yeah, it's been done.
But they didn't do that. They did literally nothing right in this movie.
No,
like
they
you
took
said,
the wrong choice on everything.
like, we're gonna make some episode art that just says every choice that they made in this movie was the wrong one. Duff.
Every single one. Every single one. And so this is the point where, okay, the last shot is him driving down the road at another open house, and I'm like, they're not going to end it this way and not show me who it is. They're
Roll
not
credits.
just going to end it this way. Roll credits. And I can't even remember the last time when a movie credits start rolling and I literally yelled, "Fuck you," at the TV. I mean, I yelled at my television. I was mad at my TV. I was actually angry. Like, that would be a good, like, that would be a good tagline on if they ever release this on DVD. Like, like, do you like watching movies that really fucking piss you off? Well, watch this one, because that is what it's going to do. It's going to piss. It actually pissed me off.
So
now I've seen a lot of bad movies, man, and like I can usually find something entertaining about most things. This is the first time in a long time that it just pissed me off.
And generally speaking, you were a lot more forgiving of bad movies than I am. Like,
especially in the horror
often,
genre.
Yeah, more
especially
often than not,
in the horror
like,
genre.
we'll talk about movies and Duff will be like, oh, you know, like, I thought this was good and this was good, and I'll just be like, no, fuck that movie. And this
I can try to find something that I can take away where I'm like, that wasn't bad and this was somewhat enjoyable.
It was
but no.
the thing that made me have to watch it and watch it today was because of how extremely vitriolic his reaction was. He was so fucking pissed off that I was just like, oh, fuck, man, I gotta watch it. I gotta know.
I hated Don't Breathe. I hated it for so many reasons. I hated it because it was boring. I hated it because it was bad. And I hated it because it was so well received critically, and I thought it was trash. And I thought it also outshone a movie that I thought was 1,000 times better that was released fairly close to it, called It Follows. And so I hated it for so many reasons. I was never mad at it, though. I didn't watch that movie and after it was over go, God damn it, I'm pissed off at this movie.
It was just like, I don't see what everyone else sees.
I don't get it. It sucked.
And I agree
this
with
movie
you, by
really
the way,
pissed me
on
off.
all of those stances. That Don't Breathe is wild trash.
This is the worst movie that I've seen since, like, I wouldn't say it's the worst movie I've seen since Don't Breathe, but what I will say is this is the most disappointed I've been with a movie since Don't Breathe, because I thought I would like both of the movies.
And what
And
what I would say is this is the worst movie.
This is the worst movie I've watched this year.
This is the worst movie that I have watched in some time that I didn't explicitly watch to do a podcast on.
Right.
I've watched other movies. Obviously, I watched the Star Wars Holiday Special. And
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid's better.
I'll take Karate Kid over this.
Karate Kid's a better movie than this. I've watched a lot of bad movies over the past couple of years that I've been podcasting for. This is the worst movie that I have willingly watched just to watch.
The podcast,
I didn't know that we were
this
gonna
episode
podcast
was
on it.
born out of. It's almost like we felt we had to do this episode because, like we said earlier in the podcast, we had a Goonies episode planned out. We both love the Goonies.
We had literally every aspect of that episode. We had all of our segments. We had
everything.
Our music.
It was ready to go.
I had so you guys may have noticed you haven't heard a lot of Barry this episode. That's because I didn't have anything planned for this episod. Because
there was nothing. No, Barry had no food.
Yeah,
he survives on sound clips. He had nothing. He had no ammo. There was nothing there.
Yeah,
because this came so spur of the moment. We both watched it and we just couldn't believe it. And
just to give you guys a little bit of insight on what usually goes into one episode of LaserDisco podcast. Typically, what happens at least a week or two in advance, Duff and I will decide what movie we're going to cover. We'll watch it. We'll go over it. We'll talk about it. I'll get some
We'll decide on the segments.
We'll decide on what segments we're going to do. We're going to break down each one of the segments. I'll go and I'll look up specific sound clips that I think will fit into it, and then we'll structure everything. So there's at least a week, if not 2 to 3 weeks, that goes into every single episode.
Yeah,
and
you may not think that a lot of work goes into our episodes, but believe it, we do put some effort into it.
Yeah, and then, the editing process itself is another few days. You're talking to about 1 to 3 weeks of work for every single episode. This episode was born at 4 p.m. today.
That's right. And, I just want to say this, this episode was therapy for us. That's why we did it. This was very cathartic.
Very cathartic.
Yes. And we thank you for letting us
Between
vent.
watching the movie and then watching my Vikings lose by 31 points, I needed this outlet. I really did, guys. I really did. And thanks for hanging in there with us if you're still here.
That's right. And also, though, besides being therapy for us, it's also a bit of a public service announcement.
Hey.
I feel like that, if we saved, this is the, people always say, if we saved one life by doing this. Well, that's how I feel. If we saved one person from having to watch this pile of shit, we did our job tonight.
And hey, if you are one of the people who paused the episode and you went and watched this movie, or if, God forbid, you went and watched it on your own and now you're listening to this, chime in. Tweet at us. Let us know how you feel about this movie. If by some miracle you like this and you vehemently disagree with us, let us know. We would love to get in an argument with you about it. We really would.
Oh,
and
yes.
tell you all the reasons why you're wrong.
You're very, very wrong in that instance. I haven't seen one person Facebook. My Facebook friends were lit up. A lot of people over the last couple of days have watched this movie. Haven't seen one person say it was good. Haven't seen one good review on it. Haven't seen one good tweet about it. I've seen nothing but hate for this movie.
A 3.5 out of 10 on IMDb is
that's hard to do.
That's the Room levels of bad.
Yeah, I would rather watch The Room 100 times over this one. I can watch The Room and get some enjoyment out of it for whatever reason.
Apples to apples comparison, The Room has a 3.6. This movie has a 3.5, The Room has a 3.6. There you go. This movie is objectively worse than The Room.
That is quite a feat.
Yeah.
So, I think that we covered it pretty well.
We spent almost as much time tearing this movie down as this movie was long. I think we covered it all. There's a lot of things that this movie did wrong. There's a few things they did right.
It still is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I've seen too many bad movies to say that, but
I've seen a shitload. I haven't had many movies that actually angered me towards the end.
It's true. Although I stand to reason that you were angered by expectations, not necessarily execution.
I know, but I mean, I've seen movies before that I had higher expectations for. It's literally the expectations plus the gut punch of the end on how much time you have. Like, this is one of those movies where you literally say, I just wasted 90 minutes of my life that I'll never get back.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, fuck you, open house. You get no Goldblums, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm gonna
0 out of 10 Goldblums.
I'm not gonna.
You're not even good enough for me to go negative on.
I'm not gonna give it 0 out of 10. However, I feel like this didn't quite reach the level of Goldblums that the Karate Kid got, which of course was 9 out of 10 Goldblums, which was very disappointing. I'm gonna give this 7 out of 10 Goldblums.
Damn. See, we may operate on the Goldblum scale, but we operate on different Goldblum scales, so that's actually a really, really bad score.
7 out of 10 Goldblums is pitiful. It's
catastrophic.
That is
on your scale,
man,
on your Goldblum scale.
That's real bad. That's real bad.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can't, because of my anger and how bad this movie was, I can't give it a single Goldblum, and I'm not even going to put in the effort to give it negative Goldblums.
I think
it has non-existent Goldblums.
Damn.
Yeah, well,
so
it's not very often that I hate a movie this much. So,
with that in mind, guys, we have one more thing that we want to go over. Just to kind of get your minds off of the open house.
A palate cleanser, if you will.
We do have one special recurring treat that I know Duff is rather excited for.
Mm-hmm. The fucking news?
Here is the fucking news.
That's right.
Oh my god, I love that British motherfucker.
It's the fucking news. And a really beautiful segue into the fucking news is the Goldblum scale. I don't know how many of you are fans of Funko Pops or Funko Pop vinyls. I'm not really sure. They're just Funko Pops to me. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Those weird little googly-eyed bastards that everyone has on their desk at your office. I'm a fan. Are you a fan, Duff?
I think they're cool. I know a lot of people that really get into collecting a bunch of them. And I think they're cool, but this one in particular is probably my favorite one I've ever seen.
So, of course, I'm talking about Funko recently announced that they're doing an entire Jurassic Park line. And what's notable is there is one particular Funko Pop that is going to be a Target exclusive. And, oh my god, guys, I literally can't contain myself in terms of my excitement. I've never seen a Funko where I was just immediately like, I need to fucking go buy that. I need to buy like 10 of those because, holy Christ, it's amazing.
It's pretty incredible.
It is Dr. Ian Malcolm, a.k.a. Jeff Goldblum himself.
Our Lord and Savior.
Our Lord and Savior of the Church of Goldblum.
Mm-hmm.
Representing his... Would you say that it's the most famous scene of his career?
I would say so.
I would say so. And that's him laying horizontally with his shirt unbuttoned and his leg all fucked up. Yeah, that's right. They made a Funko of shirtless Goldblum from Jurassic Park. That's going to be available at Target exclusively in the month of February.
Very awesome. It's a lover's month.
I can't.
So they had to bring out Sexy Goldblum.
Sexy Goldblum is the only Valentine that I want. I showed my girlfriend a picture of it yesterday, and she was like, when is that coming out? Where is it at? And I was like, it's going to be at Target just in February. She's like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to buy 2. One for me and one for you.
That's the most romantic gift I've ever heard, the gift of Goldblum.
Seriously, can it get any better? Like, they have a Goldblum of him, like, wearing a shirt, and he has his, like, fucking glasses on and everything, but fuck that. I want shirtless Goldblum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, given the choice between shirted or shirtless Goldblum, I mean, the choice is obvious.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying which one I want.
Well, that was quite the news story. Hard-hitting.
We cover only the deepest of the news stories.
Only the greatest. Yeah. but there is other news out there that's not as happy.
Oh man, do we really got to talk about that?
I think that it's worth talking about.
The only reason I say that, I think it absolutely is worth talking about. The only reason I wish we didn't have to talk about it is because it's fucking bullshit that it's even happening. So
Travesty.
Earlier in our show, we actually gave sort of a cheer to Ridley Scott for going back and doing reshoots.
One of our first episodes. Actually, it might be our first episode.
I think it was in episode 1. We gave a cheer and a boo, but we gave a cheer to Ridley Scott for going and doing reshoots on his movie All the Money in the World to get rid of Kevin Spacey. And he and his production crew, I don't know who's responsible for this, but they're actually getting our hashtag BooOfTheWeek.
They deserve it too. This is a very warranted Boo of the Week.
It's really, really, really fucked up. But during the reshoots, Mark Wahlberg was paid $1.5 million to go and do the reshoots, which that's fine. I have no issues with an actor getting paid money for going and doing reshoots. Obviously, it was very disruptive to their schedule. However, the female lead of that movie, Michelle Williams, was paid.
She's a fantastic actress.
She's a fantastic actress. It's not like she's not someone who's well known. She's been in the business for closing in on 30 years.
And she's been in some very critically acclaimed films.
Yeah,
she's been the female lead.
Yeah, she's a really good actress, and she's been around forever. Well, she was paid $80 a day to do her reshoots, which was a net total of just under $1,000.
Literally slave labor.
I mean, not quite literally, but figuratively slave labor. It's about as close to slave labor as you can get in modern society. She was paid.
Yeah.
She was paid literally minimum wage.
It's insane.
Like $7.50 an hour to go and do the fucking reshoots on this multi-million-dollar movie for an actor who's getting Oscar buzz for both Best Director and Best Picture, and he paid his fucking female lead $80 goddamn a day to do reshoots.
It is the equivalent actor pay. That is the equivalent of working in a sweatshop.
It's fucking bullshit, and I was so outraged.
Insane.
And the fact that this is so, I understand actor disparity between male and females. I don't
absolutely a fact.
I don't agree with it. I think it's ridiculous that it happens, but I get that it's out there. You know, if Mark Wahlberg would have made 1.5 and she would have made 800,000 or somewhere in that range,
Right.
I'd have been like, that's dumb, and I think it's wrong. But whatever. That's
We
still
know it's happening.
That's still a shitload of money.
And it's not shocking.
But I work just a regular job, and I make a hell of a lot more than $80 a day. If someone was like, hey, we want you to go be a software tester, we're going to pay you $80 a day, I would tell you to go fuck yourself.
Right.
Because that's not okay. And she did it in a multi-million-dollar Hollywood picture that's getting Oscar buzz. Unbelievable.
It is absolutely insane. And what worries me about this is what exactly are the circumstances to where she would say yes and be okay with that happening?
It makes me think that they were okay, obviously taking Kevin Spacey out of the film. What if they said, well, you do these reshoots at this money, or we recast you? And it feels like that's the case, because there's no way that someone would just come in and be like, oh yeah, I'm just such a team player, I'll take $7 an hour to come and work on this movie. That's
right.
Unreal, especially considering that it's a union production. I don't know enough about the factors that led up to this to even begin to make me understand how something like this happens, but I am furious for her. I am furious for all women in Hollywood for this happening. And the fact that we're even having to talk about it is absurd.
It seems like we have a new topic related to this almost every week to talk about, though.
Yeah.
But this is so beyond, like you said, the disparity. We all know that it exists, and no, it's not right. But if you would have told me, she made half of what Wahlberg made,
Even a
I would have been
third.
like, that's
Even
a third. I'd have been like, it's bullshit, but
15%.
it doesn't shock me. When I heard this, it literally it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that this was real. And even now, it's like, this just doesn't sound like, this sounds like tabloid shit. Because it doesn't sound real. It's real.
It blew my mind so hard that my only reaction was to go, what? And I was in stunned silence. And because it's such a well-known issue, I found out when I was with my girlfriend, and she literally said, your shock is adorable. Because obviously
This is shocking, though. $80 a day is shocking.
But, like, she is, as a woman who's acutely aware of such things, she knew that things like this happen, and my outrage as, almost 30-year-old man actually amused her because of how unaware of the situation I was. And the thing that makes it extra gross is we have so many awful stories regarding women in Hollywood and, like, sexual exploitation going on right now that this is a breath of fresh air, and it's fucking disgusting.
And it's fucked up. I know. It's insane.
And it's not okay. Ridley Scott, Sony Pictures, Universal, anyone involved
Ridley
in making
Scott.
this movie just...
You dick!
I need a little bit of lightness to, I don't want to end the news on that note.
No.
Because it is so horribly depressing.
Certainly not.
So
we're going to go about as hard of a 180 as you could possibly go
let's
to.
180 this shit.
Now, I believe you guys are all familiar with Australia's national hero, Paul Hogan,
Yeah.
and his starring role as Crocodile Dundee.
The all-time classic Crocodile Dundee.
Yes. If you needed a quick reminder.
Call that a knife? This is a knife.
That's not a knife, that's a spoon.
All right, you win. I see you've played knifey spoony before.
Man, I don't even remember that scene in Crocodile Dundee.
That was in Crocodile Dundee Part 8. The Dundee Harder.
Oh, Dundee Harder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Easily overlooked sequel.
Yes.
The one, the only, the legend, Danny McBride has decided that he is going to make a sequel to Crocodile Dundee.
The sequel we didn't ask for, but the sequel we deserve.
Yes.
Or don't deserve, I don't know.
Oh, no, we deserve it. This is... we deserve it. He's going to play Crocodile Dundee's son. In a...
I urge everyone to check out the teaser trailer, by the way. Everyone should watch this.
In the teaser, Danny McBride comes on screen, and he just says
"Good day."
And he just says, "Good day," as Danny McBride.
No Australian accent
And then he's like,
whatsoever.
"That's not a knife, that's a knife." So it's like this. It's like a half-broken Australian Danny McBride amalgam, and I hope he just drops in and out of the accent during the actual movie.
That would be what I would be hoping for as well.
I can't decide if the movie's gonna be like the trashiest.
Oh, it's
gonna
be hot garbage.
Like, is it gonna be hot garbage, or is it gonna be?
It's gonna be hot
or
garbage.
Is it gonna be?
It might be watchable, and we may laugh at it, but it's gonna be.
Here's
hot
the thing,
garbage.
though: is it gonna be hot garbage, or is it gonna be Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, I will watch it because it has Danny McBride. But if you were just to tell me and you didn't say Danny McBride's name, you're like, yeah, they're doing another Crocodile Dundee about his son, and this is the tagline, and this is what was in the teaser, and you did not mention Danny McBride to me at all, my gut reaction would be like, what a piece of shit that's gonna be. So, hopefully Danny McBride alone can make it watchable. We'll see.
Yeah, it's yet to be seen, and there's a lot of potential there. The thing is, there's no in between. It's either going to be one of the worst movies that has ever existed, or it's going to be fucking hilarious. I choose to believe that it's going to be a lot better than the originals because Danny McBride's involved, and everyone knows Crocodile Dundee is terrible.
I mean, yeah, the Crocodile Dundee movies, the originals, aren't exactly great cinema, so... Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. So
oh my god, man. Oh, let's talk about the open house.
Oh no.
And Crocodile Dundee reboots. I don't think I can take it, man.
No way.
I'm tapping out. I'm done.
Oh no, Duff is tapped out.
Can't do it.
Not that I can blame you. This episode has went a hell of a lot longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, when you get to ranting on the open house, it's very hard to stop.
You know, it's entirely possible that this episode could actually be longer than the open house, which will be a feat in of itself. But...
And twice as entertaining.
Easily twice as entertaining, if not 10 times as entertaining, and on a much smaller budget, too. You know what's at least as entertaining as that movie, in addition to this episode, is the rest of our catalog, which you can always find at LaserDisco.podbean.com. We're available on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher, and recently we even got added to fucking Spotify, and we are so excited about that.
So excited. Extremely excited.
Is that how excited you are? So excited.
I'm so excited.
You sound...
I can't get very uppity about anything. Today's been a rough day.
You sound really excited.
The open house really sapped it out of me, man.
Fair enough. We've also recently opened up our YouTube channel. I would give you that URL, but there's like 9 numbers in it, so... just do yourself a favor.
Just type LaserDisco movie podcast into YouTube.
Look us up on YouTube. I would love to actually give you a direct URL, but I'm not going to do that. So search us, subscribe, like, give us a rate and review if you feel so kind. We'd love that. Or check us out on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/LaserDisco.
That's right. Shout out to our Laser Panthers.
We love you, Laser Panthers. Next week and the week after, we actually have a couple really cool special episodes planned.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We're gonna
the Bloomies.
We're going to do the Bloomies, guys. It's our version of the Oscars. We're going to give out Bloomies to our Best Picture and Best Actors, and we're going to give you guys a chance to, check out who you want to win the award. If you subscribe to us on our Patreon, all you have to do to be able to take part in the voting process is pledge at least $2, and you'll be able to have an influence on who wins the Bloomie.
That's right. Which, I mean, the Oscars are cool and all, but they're not the Bloomies. What do you think Jeff Goldblum thinks about the Bloomies?
I give it 10 Goldblums out of a possible 10 Goldblums.
Obviously, we know what Jeff Goldblum thinks. And who do you think Jeff Goldblum would nominate for Best Actor? I think I have an idea.
Jeff Goldblum?
Probably Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum.
And he was in a movie this year that we all have seen.
He was... He'll find a way.
That's right.
But yeah, we're really excited. It's going to be a LaserDisco first. It's going to be a 2-part episode. We're going to have our nomination show, which will be sort of a mini episode, and then we're going to have the actual awards ceremony the week after. So make sure you stay tuned and look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Very exciting stuff.
Now, this is the part where I usually build up some cool outro music, but I can't imagine that I'm going to find anything, so... I don't know, I guess. What do you think, Duff?
I don't have a lot to say. Usually, this is the point where I have something witty to say at the end as the music goes out, but I don't really have anything. I'll say this. Remember, folks, friends don't let friends watch the open house. Don't.
Thanks for leaving your curtains open. Just enough for me to peek through. I was hiding in the dark behind a tree in your front yard, and you didn't have a clue. Packed my cooler with a snack, got myself all dressed in black so I could secretly watch you. I'm stalking you. Did you know that I'm stalking you? Now you do. exactly where you are. I'm 50 feet behind your car. You might think that I am a jerk just because I followed you home from work. It's really not that far. I document every move you make with the black and white pictures I take that hang up in my room. I'm stalking you. Did you know that I'm stalking you? Now you do. But don't worry, you're not in danger. My motive is not hate. I love the way that you walk. I tap your phone so I can hear you talk. I think your voice is great. I am hiding in your room with my video camera on zoom, so I can rewind you. I'm stalking you. I'm stalking you. You didn't know that I was stalking you, but now you do.